DioGuardi. Let's say hello to Congressman Jerry Nadler. He's here. He was in California today. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to see you.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me.
Well, you're going to have time to talk, and we're going to have time. So right now,
First, we're
relax,
gonna
a
give
little
you
food, a little
something
drink,
to drink,
but I just
and
want
so
everybody to know
and
you're
then
here.
we'll-
Now, let me just say what we're doing here. Shirley and I are basically the advocates for the Albanian people worldwide. But let me say a few words about Jerry Nadler. Jerry, you've been, I left in 1989. I think you were just being elected in that year. 92. So you came in just after. But you have played a very key role. And there are two major functions that we play. One is direct advocacy to the legislative branch, mainly Congress. And two is public relations. We have a public affairs committee, which is really a pact. We have a foundation for education. And we have a civic league, which is a registered body. Now, let me go to the foundation because Jerry gave a wonderful speech last December 8th at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. Why is that important? Because over the years, Shirley and I have been able to tell a wonderful story to the Jewish people that we found out, and I found out by accident when I took Congressman Tom Lantos to Albania, believe it or not, in May of 1990, when Albania was like North Korea. No cars, nothing. It was amazing. And we went there because the Berlin Wall had come down less than a year before, October, I think it was 1989. This was May 1990. And we went there to tell the communist dictator, hey, the Berlin Wall's down. When are you going to take this wall of communism down here? I mean, not that he would do it right away, but he needed us to come. Why? Already the Albanian people were getting nervous. They heard about the wall, and we were making a trip to Kosovo. And when the Albanian government found out I was taking Lantos to Kosovo, it was almost like competition. How could you go there and not come to Albania? And by the way, why aren't you coming to Albania first? First, they didn't want to see us. Then when they saw we were going to Kosovo, I said, we can't come there first. And someone had told me, don't go there first. It's the spirit of the Albanian people is in former Yugoslavia, mainly Macedonia and Kosovo. Communism was so severe in Albania from 1945 to 1990, it kind of wore with the spirits of the people down. Don't forget, the distrust that was created by that psychotic, communist, atheistic regime made Albanian people even distrust each other. They didn't know who was going to turn in. Boom. And so far, by the way, they have not opened the archives. Shirley and I keep telling the Albanian new prime minister, we told Berisha, when are you going to open up the archives? But something happened in 1990. The communist dictator was so threatened that I brought the head of the Congressional Human Rights Caucus, Tom Lantos himself, a Jew who was saved by Raoul Wallenberg from the Holocaust. He and his wife escaped. They were ethnic Hungarians, one of them. And he wanted to show Congressman Lantos that he appreciated the trip. He gives us a file, 4 inches thick, from the communist archives. Lantos gave it to me. He said, you will appreciate what we've done for your people, Congressman. You read this. So I'm looking at it. It's in all different languages, letters, photos, newspaper clippings. And I'm reading a couple of the things that I can understand. And I'm saying, my God, these are letters that were sent to the Albanians who rescued Jews. But this communist regime did not let one letter through for 45 years. They put it in the archives. So I now have this file after 45 years. No one knew how many Jews were saved in Albania. Not just the Albanians that were there, many of them for centuries, because Jews have been coming to Albania from the burning of the Second Temple in 70 AD, the Spanish Inquisition. In fact, there were some that came even before, but it's a longer story. So I took this file, figuring it was important, and I didn't realize how important it was. Yad Vashem had never heard the story. They started to research right away, and already we're up to 69 medals for Albanian families, righteous among nations. And there should be 3,069, but because many people died between 1945 and 1990, And Yad Vashem, and we're lobbying the Israeli government to change this, the Albanians, saying they need live testimony. Well, how can you have live testimony? Here are the letters, but the people died. And these people are heroes. Now I'm saying this because we're lobbying you. But at some point, we need to get a letter to Yad Vashem, the government, to say, you know, in the case of the Albanian people, we need to understand.
In case of something that wasn't known for a long time.
It wasn't known, and many more should be congratulated. But now we get back to Jerry Nadler. He has been our key link to the Jewish power. You know, the Jewish lobby, very important American, okay? He is one of the most respected Jewish Americans. With that, I want to just say publicly how much we appreciate what Jerry has done to help Shirley and I amplify this story about the tolerance of the Albanian people, that today they have 4 religions: Roman Catholicism, Eastern Orthodox Christianity, the Islam, and the Jewish religion. There's now a synagogue built in the capital of Toronto for the remaining Jews that are there. So we got to keep telling the world that while they hear these crazy stories that are going on in the Mideast, that the Albanian people are tolerant, they even intermarry. In fact, we know, because we've been with them on holidays, where if there's an Easter or a Christmas celebration, the Muslim part of the family comes with the Christian. And that's the way it should be. You know, if you want to believe in something, you believe in it, but you shouldn't prevent other people, you know, from believing what they want to believe.
I'm just going to make a couple of comments because we originally planned to share this time, but I want Mr. Nadler to have an opportunity. What I want to say about Jerry, actually, Joe was originally going to talk a little bit more about what you're doing judiciary and transportation and all of the things that you do to make a difference. Foreign affairs is not Jerry Nadler's principal focus, and yet, as you have seen, he has consistently been there with us. We are, as an Albanian American Civic League in the lobby, we don't just go out and say, oh, so-and-so is head of this committee, so-and-so, you know, is in the leadership. We do not simply contribute our time and our funds and ask our supporters to do that because of somebody's particular position. We look for the people that really are public servants. And as Joe said, Jerry Nadler is really one of the towering intellects in our government today, and we don't have enough of that, and it matters a great deal. So he has consistently worked with us on not only trying to work for the independence of Kosovo, which, as you know, we only have it in name only, but as Joe pointed out, on what we're trying to do to tell the truth about the Albanian story. We all know, after the war, the false parity was created between the Serbs and the Slobodan Milosevic regime and Albanians. And we're still in a position now, a terrible position, where Albanians, especially with ISIS now, being presented to the world via Belgrade as this, you know, terrorist, potentially, you know, this Muslim, potentially terrorist force in the heart of Europe. And nothing could be further from the truth, since Albanians are 4 religions living side by side in harmony for centuries. But now it's important that we're here tonight because this is a slightly different time. We're in a different moment in our government right now, which, as you know, is very dysfunctional. And we're looking forward to the possibility that Jerry will become the ranking member in the judiciary. So at this point, it was important for him to reach out, and we want to give back to you what you've given to us for the last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, you know, if you need choice, Mrs. Nadler's here too, all right?
I was going to thank Joyce for letting me do everything I do, and I do. But let me thank you for arranging this, and Harry and Oliver and everything. Let me just say a few things. We in this country have to promote certain things. We have to promote that we can all live together in unity and harmony, regardless of our various ethnic, religious, racial, etc. backgrounds. It's something this country hasn't quite gotten right yet, but it's making continuing progress on over the last century or so. And is really far ahead of most other countries. Second, we have to have a foreign policy that helps other people, and that helps other people to try to maintain civilization, to try to maintain a situation where people can live in freedom and not risk being slaughtered just because of who they are. And that is not simple today. And you see this, well, you see it, I mean, I've supported independence for the Kosovars, I've supported independence for the Kurds, for the same reason. They're both peoples who have been consistently discriminated against, persecuted by their overlords, and by contrast, when they've had the opportunity, have behaved decently. They've shown that they can run a country, a civilized country that will have respect for different groups. The Albanians have shown that, the Kosovars have shown that, the Kurds have shown that. And therefore, they ought not to be subject to somebody else who cannot do that, who persecute them. I remember speaking, and I'll tell you this, another funny story. During the Kosovo War, I supported it. Now, I opposed the Iraq War. I opposed a lot of military action. I think it's unnecessary usually. But I supported the Kosovo because I thought, if never again is going to mean anything, we say with the Holocaust, never again, it's got to mean that we'll act when a Holocaust, when some genocide is threatened. And I had occasion during that war to speak to a very unusual audience. It was an audience of the veterans of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. I don't know how many people here know what the Abraham Lincoln Brigade is or was. The Abraham Lincoln Brigade were American volunteers who volunteered to go to Spain and fight against Franco in the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s, 1936 to 39. And when I spoke to them, this was 1998, 99, whatever it was, so they were all, well advanced in age. The survivors would come back, and they had an annual meeting and an annual, Veterans of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. And the Abraham Lincoln Brigade was very left-wing. They were affiliated with the Communist Party, or, back in the 30s, the anarchists, Trotskyites, they were all very left-wing. Anyway, and they were very anti-war. Not anti-Spanish Civil War, but in more modern times, very anti-war. So I'm addressing the veterans of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. And the organizer, who was a major union leader named Mo Foner, says to me, when I get up to speak, he says, whatever you do, don't mention Kosovo. Whatever you do, don't talk about the war in Kosovo, because they'll be against it. I said, okay. And so I got up, and what do I talk to 85-year-olds about? Preserving Social Security, Medicare, other such controversial topics. And people start yelling out, what about Kosovo? What about Kosovo? So I finally lost my patience. And I looked at them, and I said, you went to Spain to risk your lives to fight Franco. Don't you recognize him when he comes back with a different name, Milosevic? The same fascist tyranny, the same fascist murderousness. And he's lost that. I said, don't you recognize him when he comes back? And that's why. And some of them, well, you're talking to a lot of very older people. Some of them went over their head. They weren't listening. And some of them suddenly, were shocked and looked at me, and I think some of them probably realized, yeah, it wasn't simple. In any event, we have to, and I admire Shirley and Joe and all of you for the work you've done. For the Albanians and Kosovars, and in bringing to light the story about the Albanians saving the Jews in World War II, which is when people are heroic. There was heroism, because when people save people, it's at the risk of their lives. If the Nazis found you were hiding a Jewish person or something, they killed you and your family. So, this was not an easy thing to do. And there ought to be recognition of this, not only because not that people need recognition, especially 50 years later, but it encourages others. There have to be moral examples that people can point to in this world, in all ethnic groups, in all different groups. So I'm very grateful for the work you've done and for affording me the opportunity to participate in bringing this to light. And obviously, sometimes institutions make certain rules. Like the Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize, you can't get the Nobel Prize unless you're alive. So if you come out with a new theory, and everybody thinks it's ridiculous, and by the time it's proven true, you're gone, you can't get the Nobel Prize posthumously. You've got to be proven right while you're still alive. That's the rules. It's a good rule or bad rule, I don't know, that's the rule. recognition for something like the role of many Albanians in World War II ought to be recognized when it comes to light, even if the people are no longer here, because it was systematically hidden. It was systematically hidden. There was no possibility. So I'm glad to support that. So I thank you for supporting me and for enabling me to do this, and I want to thank Joe and Shirley for being such friends.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you all. Thank you.
You can be sure he will be congressman after election day. So we'll be visiting. I'd like you to be the lead. All right, great. Congressman Nadler, those great words he gave about lobbying Israel, Yad Vashem, for recognition. He's going to do a letter, and we're going to get other congressmen to sign it.